Alex here with part 202 of the My Docket series on child custody and visitation. The first thing you guys might find odd is that Brittany's here, and it is odd. It is weird. I never thought she'd be in the My Docket series, but the petition for adoption has us both down as petitioners, and this is the only time that she has been a litigant in the case. I did another take of this video where Brittany's audio did not work, and we don't want to do that all over again. It took forever and it was stressful. And so I'm going to kind of do a compromise where I will redo the portion of Brittany during the mindset. So that's the first half of the video. And then the second portion of the video where we went over the actual documents, I'm just going to edit out the portions where I asked her questions and just you'll see her face, but we're not going to do that part over again. That's the most complicated, annoying part to redo. So at least you get us to redo this part so you can hear her voice. All that being said, I guess I'll go into my usual disclaimers. So as with my previous videos, I'll take this opportunity to direct my viewers to part 0 if you haven't seen it yet. That's the video that contains the detailed disclaimers and the underlying purpose of the series. Two things that I will go over now is number one, we are not in the middle of this right now. Our case is completely and totally over. It's closed. It cannot be reopened, and that's because my ex's parental rights have been terminated. Number two, the nutshell version as to the purpose of the series is to give my viewers one big example of my high conflict child custody ordeal from beginning to end in chronological order. So this is the petition for adoption. I'm not sure how much you can remember. I can remember a little bit. I remember the discussion. What do you think about? See, for years we discussed that you were a stepmom, I was, the dad, and even in court in front of Judge Rob, you testified on the stand that our son had a mother and a father, and that you weren't needed in that room. What happened? How did you feel when I approached you and I said, 6 months and a day is up? What do you think about adopting him?
I couldn't wait to get it over with. Honestly, it was a long time coming, and I knew once we finished the adoption or completed it, he was completely protected from here on out. Because now, if Monica came back into his life or tried to, or if something were to happen to you, I would have him and he would be safe.
I like you that you used the word protected. Did you feel like you really couldn't protect him before as a stepmother?
It's true. I guess when he was in my care, I could protect him, but if anything were to happen to you, like I said before, she would she was the primary parent.
Yeah.
And I don't even know if it would have been successful. I don't know if I could have gotten any rights going to court fighting her. I don't know how that would have worked out. So it was a big concern.
I love that you mentioned that because it's an opportunity for me to explain to the viewers that there is such a thing as a non-parent getting custody of a child. Theoretically, it's possible. There is something that gets in your way. It's called the parental preference presumption. For anybody who wants to watch that video, overcoming the parental preference presumption is hard, not just because of the constitutional protection that triggers, but also because most judges have this mindset that no, you're they don't really care if the other parent's horrible, as long as they aren't like to egregious levels of horrible, they will often just give custody to the natural parent. And so while in theory there's things like third party custody, non-parent custody, in practice it's just something that most judges don't agree with personally, and so that of course interferes given the latitude that they have. So that ties into discretion. If you want to know more about why that's a problem, watch the video discretion. um, do you remember? Now, I can't remember this very clearly. Do you remember our discussion with Army on it? I I can't remember it very much, but we did have to talk to him about it because it's kind of a
About
change.
the adoption or about what specifically?
Well, this is the first time he's required to go to court. See, it's the opposite with all the other cases. I remember having to talk to him about it because it's like, not only are you facing the prospect of a new mom, and I am going to elaborate on that because that sounds so bad, but you can't make it sound good. They literally erase my ex's name from the birth certificate and replaced it with your name. There's no politically correct way to
To
explain
say
what
it.
happened. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
they literally replaced the mom. I remember a little bits and pieces of talking to Army about it. And I was wondering if you remembered more because I think that would be something that would be nice to tell the viewers, given like what I said earlier, he would have to go to court for this one thing and speak to the judge.
Mm-hmm. I don't remember a conversation specifically, but I know he wasn't scared.
Yeah.
I mean, when you see the video, you'll see he was ready to talk. He knew what to say. He was prepared in his own little brain. We didn't prepare him, but he just was ready to get it over with. He was done. He was done with the abuse, and he felt safe with us, so he was excited to say, yeah, this is my mom now.
I know, I remember that. We're going to run that clip, guys, when we get to that point in the My Docket series. Did you have any emotional reaction when you read the petition for adoption?
I honestly don't think so.
Maybe when you read the decree.
The emotion came in the courtroom. Piece of paper. I've been seeing those for years.
Yeah.
So
did you think? See, here's another thing that's a little weird is for most people representing themselves is terrifying. And I know I've talked to you about this, but I guess let the viewers know, how weird did you feel putting your name on a legal document with no attorney and signing it?
I had been with you for so long by then. I was used to you not having an attorney or us. So it really didn't seem too strange. I didn't realize, I didn't realize it was that uncommon.
Yeah.
It was just the way you did it. Yeah. I was just so used to it,
Because I know that people just, it's hard. People are so terrified. It's not even scared. They're terrified. And
yeah.
You just had seen me.
I can imagine now. I'm
imagining that you just saw me win those Supreme Court battles. You saw me get published and you were like, I guess this is just what people do and it's normal.
It is. And, a lot of times I would look to you for, if Alex is anxious or worried about it, maybe I should be a little concerned. You didn't. You weren't. So yeah. I was calm.
So I guess that is probably the beginning and the end of the mindset portion of the video. Let's take a look at what I have filed. So here, I guess this is some kind of court information sheet. I don't remember filling this out. I've seen these before, but it looks like just a generic application. It doesn't look like a legal instrument to me. So if you filled out like a job application or a bank loan or something, same thing, fill in all the blanks, mark the check boxes and such. Just a second page of that same form. I really don't know the significance of this form or why we had to fill it out, but clearly we went ahead and we filled it out. We've got the petition for adoption here. This is just like the petition for termination of parental rights, a brand new petition opening a brand new case. As you can see, as its own case number. It's totally separate from the petition for termination of parental rights. Upper left hand corner, as you can see, we're representing ourselves. In the matter of the adoption as to Armando Robbie. So the same thing with the caption. The caption is also outlined by statute, so the specifics as to what has to be in it are mentioned in the statutes. The only difference here is that instead of me being the petitioner and my ex being the respondent, there is no respondent, and both myself and my wife are the petitioners simultaneously. If you ever have a petition for adoption and the other parent agrees and is not going to fight you, you don't even have to file a petition for termination of parental rights. They prepare a consent form. I think it's like a one-page consent form with very precise language. It's actually in the statutes. The language in the consent form, as far as I know, has to be perfect. It has to be verbatim, consistent with the language of the statute. And if the other parent fills out one of those consents, then you actually would just file that in this petition for adoption, in this adoption case, and that would take care of everything. You wouldn't need a termination of parental rights case. You could do it just with the petition for adoption case on its own. Interesting little tidbit there. I think I talk about this more in detail in my video titled Adoption. Standard introductory language or paragraph introduces both myself and my wife, appearing in proper person, here to petition the court for my wife to adopt her stepson. It's a step-parent adoption. It's pretty common. Usually people use attorneys. I think it's not common for people to do it like this. First paragraph, we have the first allegation, I guess you could say, is that we have a child of age 9. Second allegation is that he has resided at that address. Third allegation, still, guys, this information is still old address. Let's see, next allegation here is that I'm 32-year-old natural father of the child, that I've resided in Nevada for 29 years, that my wife is 33-year-old and married to me, and that she has resided in Nevada for a period of 17 years. These things are all allegations relevant to the jurisdiction, and that's because we're both in Nevada and we're filing in Nevada, and of course our child is also in Nevada. Next, we have allegation that I was awarded primary physical custody, and that, let's see, I was awarded sole legal custody. Allegation after that is that we have resided at the same address, or yes, that's right, both of us together have resided at the same address since January of 2015. So this is going to take care of the venue issue because we're filing in Clark County. If we lived in Reno, we would file in Washoe. We've got the fact that my wife has known my son since December of 2012, that the child has lived in our home combined, like us together, for a period of 3 years. I know that this matter, I think under the statutes, they have something called a home study. Now, we're exempt from that because I am related to our son by blood, and I'll talk about that more, I think, when we get to, actually, maybe not. Maybe I'll talk about that now. So, no, I know where okay, never mind. There is a motion that I filed to get waivers, and that's the best time to talk about that. There are exceptions to certain petitioners that are within I think it's the 3rd degree of consanguinity. I think that's how they pronounce it, which is blood relation. We'll talk about that more when I file those motions for waivers, because that's when it's going to be most relevant. But for now, I'll move on. The child has lived, okay, I mentioned that. It's our desire that his name be changed to Armando Prince Falcone. We're alleging that we are fit and proper persons to have care and custody of our son. We're alleging that we are financially able to provide for our son. My wife is alleging upon adoption to treat and regard him as her own lawful child, and that she will provide him with the right to support, protection, and inheritance. So next allegation is adoption is in the best interest of our son. That, let's see here, my ex is the natural mother of the child, that proceedings to terminate her parental rights have been instituted, that we have been in full compliance with the law in regard to consent to adoption, and that we have been in full compliance with the remaining statutes that I mentioned there. And then line 22 is that the child is not an Indian child. As I mentioned in the previous video, that is relevant because of all of these extra protections that trigger when Indian children are subjected to adoption proceedings and petition for termination of parental rights proceedings. The remaining, well, let's see here. It looks like I'm asking for certain relief. See, I don't know why this first one here, that the court find that I am within 1 degree of consanguinity. This isn't really relevant here. So this shouldn't be in here. This is relevant later when I file motions to get waivers. So this shouldn't be in the petition. Next is that the court find that my ex's consent is not required upon the termination of, okay, so this isn't really needed as a finding either. This is something that is just, I guess you could say the court takes judicial notice of. Once the TPR is done, she's not considered a parent anymore. So I don't need the court to make another finding in the adoption case. It's just, there's just only one parent. And so that one parent has agreed to do this. Next, we have that the child's name be changed to Armando Prince Falcone. That does have to be here. That matters. Next, we have that the child shall become the legal child of Mrs. Falcone and shall become the child's legal, and that she shall become the child's legal mother with all the rights and duties between them of natural parents and legitimate child. And that my ex shall be relieved of all maternal responsibilities for the child, and that she shall not have exercise or have any rights over the adopted child. Next allegation is that the adoption of the child shall not in any way change the status of the relationship between the child and his natural father, and that the adoption of the child is in the best interest of the child. So next we have, let's see, the verification, which is under penalty of perjury. As you can see, it has my signature, but because we're both petitioners, it has both of our signatures. And next document, consent to service by electronic means. Just like in the last video, this is allowing somebody to service through email. Nothing special about that. Going into the aftermath, we filed 2 documents. One of them was free filing. The other one cost $238 in filing fees. We didn't have an attorney, so we incurred $0 in attorney fees. As with my previous videos, if you have any questions, feel free to post them down in the comments below, and I will see you guys next time.